This time of the fall, there's a couple layers to what we try to accomplish. Number one, we install some of the team concepts so we can play the game in a clean, safe manner. Fly ball communication, cutoffs and relays, your picks, your rundowns, first and thirds, bunt defenses. There's 23 new guys on our roster of 39, so that's a pretty good clip, and we want to be on the same page. So as we pivot from group work into teamwork, you start to install holistically some of these things with everybody on the field, and that's where we are right now. As you go through the fall, you're constantly evaluating what each individual athlete needs from a developmental standpoint. As you grab that info and you start to apply it into what the individual needs to try to maximize his playability and physicality, and you start to then move to what positions do people belong in, and what does the pitching look like against live hitters. And as you ease your way through the back end of the fall calendar, you start to ramp up the strength and conditioning, move into the off season, and then you come back in the spring and it's a different feel. You feel like you have a better sense of who needs to do what, and get into a little bit more role defining situation, and at that point you need to have your install done and you're trying to prepare the team. But this is really exciting, probably as excited as I've ever been in my 26 years getting into a fall. The effort the staff has put in to create a roster, I think we've talked about it for 3, 4 years, 5 years now, and what the transfer era brings to the table. And you could talk to any coach in this industry right now at how critical the roster management and the moves and trying to bring in the pieces to fill, in our case, what was a heavy draft. I think more drafts than anybody in the country. So you have to have the combination of some of the older guys that come in, and then you hope you can land some talented incoming high school seniors that are your freshmen that look to be with you and move through the program in a 3 or 4 year period. So I'm very excited. I've been pleased with what I've seen so far, and then we'll know more once we get into the back end of the week and see some live scrimmage repetitions.
Talk about transfer additions. How big was Dowd there for you?
Yeah, I like the outfielders to be able to play center field, and I think when I look at, if you want to look at last year and then you can start to say the same thing this year, I think we have a bunch of guys that have the capability to play center field. When you have that, as you put these athletes out onto the field, you instantly become more dynamic defensively, you're rangier, and we know what that does. It helps the pitching staff. So he is absolutely in that mode, and so is Chase Williams, and so is John Stutzer, and Sheffield can go out there, and Delamalure can go out there, and you just keep deepening the athleticism and the capabilities of the outfielders, and Dowd is right there in the thick of it.
Is Williams going to be involved in the ball, or are they going to go shorter work?
He's not going to play competitively. Now, he's at a point where yesterday he was able to start bunting again, and he needs to add that dimension. You watched it last year. That wasn't something that was a strength of his. But I think this fall, and being able to just essentially do that for a while, it can't hurt in that aspect of his game. And you know the way he runs, if you can place that and move the way he moves, good things happen. So that's what he's going to do right now. And he's throwing and doing the base running. He's just not swinging or competitively playing in the scrimmages.
Transfer stuff with pitching, and how much was that a focus with what you lost, what you need to bring in? How do you Michael and company do with that?
I think we fared well. Time will tell. And you can look at what you have on paper, and sometimes that doesn't tell the whole story, but I am very pleased with what we landed. And the portal provides different opportunities every cycle. This year it seemed a little bit more inundated with pitching, and you have to build the roster based on what's available and what you have coming in with your high school recruiting class. There's a balance with both of those, but that is a very hard process over the summer. I mean, these visits didn't exist years ago. You weren't entertaining visits from pitchers that were at Oregon and Virginia and Florida Atlantic. You have to restructure really what your calendar looks like and what you target with the recruiting. When the dust settles, I think we probably have more pitching depth than we've had before. And we lost some octane. Jamie Arnold and Vellini, those guys answered the bell every weekend for us the entire year. So you have some work to do to replace it. But all in all, with what I've seen in 3 weeks, I think our depth on the mound actually could be better. And it was an older group. Like, you brought a lot of juniors in, and the number of drafts that we had last year, I think we had 11 and maybe 12 that signed. Joe signed as a free agent. I think we will exceed that this year. So you're excited about the age and the maturity of the group, and I'm excited about the dynamic nature of what I see. We're already into the recruiting. We've got recruits with us today. But you look at what you're going to have to, again, try to replace. So older, experienced, dynamic, going to be okay. And then the recruiting's already ongoing for the next round.
Seen Miles Bailey, how he performed last year, his freshman year. Like, what's the next step for him as far as you want to see him be like a leader or somebody you want to see?
I like the guys to be the best versions of themselves, and how they lead, I think, needs to be just an organic facet of their development. His leadership starts with productivity and playing a high-level first base, which he's done. He's still learning the position. I think there's swing decisions as he continues to log at bats. I think the swing decisions will be better. I think thinking through the approaches and how to attack a certain pitcher or how he feels like he's being pitched, I think that's the next step in the maturity for him. But his physical capabilities and his approach to the game is as good as I've seen out of a player at that age. And we try to help him every single day hone his skills and fine-tune that swing and continue to learn how to play first base. And we've even moved him into the outfield a little bit because he does move. And you're always assessing your roster in the fall to see who can fit where and what options does that give you if you have guys that can move around. And we have a lot of those, Miles being one. Last year it clearly fit at first base, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to play a little outfield from time to time.
Does Noah fit at short, second, outfield, all the above?
I think it's a little bit all of the above. And he's rangy and wants to be involved in the outfield. So in his practice today, he'll do a little bit in the outfield and a little bit in the infield. And he's moved along. And it is challenging for some of those young guys to be on these teams where the teams are older and they're fairly capable and physical. And some of the guys, Jace Estes and Noah, it's okay to learn on the fly and get a taste and better yourself in practice. He'll factor in somewhere. We've moved all the infielders. We've gone third, short, second. We've done third and second. We've done short and second, short and third. I've just moved them all around. Number one, to get all of their arms in shape and just to feel it out a little bit. And those guys have worked hard all summer. He played. So he's going to factor in. I will say his pitch recognition and his ability to manage the at-bat was advanced. And we noticed that last year. In fairness to him and the other guys, last year it was a tough lineup to break into, and things were going okay. This is a different story this year.
Cal's was supposed to be such a big part of the lineup last year. He really turned it on late in the season. How much of that has he been able to kind of carry through for you right now?
Well, the live at-bats, I'll know more as we get into it. He knows how to play the game and loves to play the game, and he's played college summer ball after his high school season, college summer ball after his freshman season, college summer ball last year. So he's logging at-bats. It's the application, the swing decision, the zone knowledge, the lanes within the zone. That's the finishing touch we need out of him. Great infield skill. Again, you saw him at third base, and he could easily play short. He could play second. He's a talented kid that loves to play. He loves to play the game. And it is nice to have, you have your corner guys that played a lot last year, and your middle guys are gone. Last year, the middle guys are back. Here are the new corners. So it is nice to have Cal over there, and he has helped some of the younger guys figure out all the things we do at the third base position, and Cal's heady enough. He knows what's going on at all the infield spots. So he's great. And I do look for him to take that next step. And we've seen our players historically take that jump and take that step. I think he's prepared to do it.
Can you discuss that a little bit further, the ability for you guys to develop in-house talent, especially at the plate, as you have to fill holes with some of the guys that are departing via the draft and such?
Well, you come up with ways that you think you need to train and practice, and we're constantly working on the facility to try to give them the best training atmosphere they can have. The advancements in technology on the mound, and we're implementing that into the cage. We're enclosing the cage, so it'll be heated and cooled. The end of the week, the air conditioner will run in the cage. The space has always been phenomenal, but it needed to be climate controlled for the players and for the technology that's now in-house in that facility. It's hard designing the work for these guys individually, what they need to try to move along in terms of their individual drills and how we use the pitching machines and how we work on base running. It's really the most enjoyable part of this for me is to create ways for them to be the best they can be. And I think if you do it right, some of these guys leave the program far better than they ever thought they could be. Then you combine the strength and conditioning, and you're physically dealing with a different athlete year 3 than year 1 when they walk in the door. That's what the program should be about. And our coaching staff and strength staff and training staff and facility staff, everybody works really hard to put these kids in the best possible position to train and learn. And I think that's why you see the improvements, and then you see the drafts, and you see guys that step out of here and flourish in professional baseball right away. Pretty cool.
Ben Barrett is a guy that just seems to have all the tools. If you want to create a baseball player, Ben Barrett, it hasn't been easy for him, but kind of sort of, I guess, mentality as he approached with it, and great has he shown you guys?
He wants to be good at this. And the stuff, Mike and I talked about it last week. You've seen the stuff go from, you remember as a freshman, he's 86, 89, then you see a 92, and then it's 87, and the guy's throwing 95, 97 miles an hour now. If we can get the feel for the command of the stuff to match how the stuff has improved, that's the sweet spot. And it's not always easy. And he's really each year been a different physical specimen. So maybe harnessing the true command and feel for that, because of how dynamic that stuff has become really each year in sequence, that might be a little tricky. But he's going to figure it out. And I think he's settled on what fastball profile works for him. His breaking ball is really good. Again, at this level, with the physicality of the offensive player, even though it's 96, 97 with some good movement, it still needs to be located, or else you find yourself running into problems. But I pull for Ben. And he's worked so hard, and he's dealt with a lot and played a position for us as a freshman, and was trying to play first and hit, and we needed him to pitch. So his time is coming, but it's been really fun to watch this fall. And again, whether he throws Thursday or Friday, in one of those 2 scrimmages, we'll see it for the first time against the hitters, and it's going to be better than it was, that I can tell you. How far we can push it and take it, the ball's in his court on that.
You like, sorry, what you see from Wes Mendez after the last time we saw him? Do you feel like he's more motivated now after getting in that rotation after the way that he performed in that postseason?
Yeah, he's motivated. And you had one really good regional start, and then you had a tough ending. So that taste is in your mouth. It's in mine. It's in his. More deception, disguising each pitch where the package doesn't become so distinguishable to the hitter. Like, what does that changeup look like coming out of your hand where they don't know that it's coming? Throwing it with some conviction where you're not trying to maybe do too much with it. A little better command of the fastball, more consistent curveball. I think his slider was relatively consistent. At times, I don't think the bigger curveball quite had the bite that maybe like Vellini's big curveball had. So he needs to take that step. Like, he expects to take that step. It just has to be a little bit more consistent. And I think going from that second to third year, now that you've felt what this is like to be a starter for the course of the year, you've pitched in very meaningful series in the year, and it doesn't get any more meaningful than what he dealt with in the back end in the postseason. So he'll be more mature for it, and he learned some tough lessons along the way, but you also see the upside. That's a dynamic athlete. Sky's the limit. And just like we talked about with Ben, I think Wes will take that next little step. Everybody's step is different. They all have a step to take in their respected physiques and command of stuff. It'll come. Different than maybe what Ben was doing, but his step will come too.
I think Eli might have been the first guy you guys picked up in the offseason. Just what have your expectations been? Has he met those so far? And what's his trajectory?
More physical at the plate than I saw on video. You can watch the video. Then when you see it in front of you every day, you realize how physical this kid is. He's a big kid. And I think Faroe and Lodis we see him every day. When you reflect on it, now that they're gone, how physical those guys were. They're big kids, and Eli's a big kid. He was down with a little arm injury, so he kind of ran right into last season and played, having come through some rehab. So we're trying to figure out the second base position and how that looks and what do we need to work on. You could tell he's very physical. He's got really good hands. The double play pivot, again, something for Rowe and Lodis, we took that for granted. So trying to hammer home how we turn those double plays, what is the footwork around the bag, the footwork in the feed you receive, how do you have to deliver that thing to first base, and at times it's a different angle on each one of those double play pivots. So the finer points of that, he could play third, he played short, and that's the beauty of what I see in our infield. I think we could take these little pods and you could move them around. But clearly the physicality and the power to all fields, he's got some thump to all fields, right field, right center, center field, balls off the scoreboard. And with the wood bat, we swing the wood bats in the fall in BP, so that's been fun. He's got some juice.
It looked like they could make Hunter Carnes kind of maximize their time on the Cape. Just how are those opportunities to continue to build, just kind of extend the fall ball maybe?
Yeah, we need Peyton to take that jump. The secondary pitches, if we can get those things a little bit more consistent and a little bit more dynamic, it gives him a chance to strike people out. And I think the fastball has continued to, his profile with the riding fastball, that's there. He's throwing a little bit harder, so now there's more with the ride. The changeup was very good in the bullpen the other day. The breaking pitches, I think the next step for him is just the depth and the dynamic component to the breaking balls. Carnes absolutely loves to play. Yesterday, he came from the cage and he's sitting in the dugout and he looks mad. I'm like, Carnes, you all right, coach? I'm waiting to hit. This guy, he wants to play, he wants to work, he wants to hit, he wants to come out early and do his catching drills and hit in the cage. The guy's a worker, and he takes a lot of pride in what he's doing, and it was good for both of those guys to go up there in the Cape and play, and Carnes needed it. He got banged up a little bit, and when you're a freshman and you roll into this and you're catching, our catchers were all banged up last year, so we can't really afford that. Smelia's still banged up, but how to play the position and block where you're not taking balls off the hand and receive properly where your hands are not getting beat up. How to run the bases and slide and manage your body so that the intensity of the catching position doesn't wear you out to the point of an inability to really play the game at a high level. And he ran into that a little last year. That's maturity. It's knowledge of self. And clearly he's much better with that dimension than he was at this time last year.